So let's say you're taking a class called Creative Technologies 1, and you're supposed to do Project 2, which is visualize a common expression. I'm going to choose Cash is King. That's the one I'm going to work on. And I'll just kind of walk you through the process as I build that file with all the requirements for that project. You got Project 2 sheet. You can see how many things you're supposed to do in there. I'm going to walk you through the process of doing that. So I'm sharing my screen. We're going to go to Photoshop and take a look at what that looks like. This is my file, but you know how to do that. If I wanted a new file, I would say I want to make an 8 by 10, 300 pixels per inch. I can choose black for the background, or I can make a transparent file and create. And now I've got a blank file. So like the one I've already got going here, this one, if I found myself wondering how big is my file, I can look here at image size, and it tells me it's 8 by 10, 300 pixels per inch. Perfect. If I wanted to change the size, I could actually type in numbers there, or I could go to canvas size. This is kind of handy. If you said, I want to make it, 3 by 4, comma 4, and I wanted to shave it from this corner, I would shrink it up into from that one corner. You could do that and change the size of your canvas. Of course, it would say, you're going to crop a whole bunch of stuff out. Is that okay? And you say, maybe it is. So that's a way to play with your file size. What I'm going to do with Cash is King is put a guy in there, a stock image that I'm going to download from a stock website. You probably have seen the stock websites. There's our class. And look at things like we went to a couple of websites, Creative Commons, we looked at Stock Snap, we looked at a couple of others. So I would go in here, look for some of those stock photos, stock image, Stock Snap, actually, that's what it was, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. So I would go here, look at that, and then say, I'm looking for a businessman. Maybe don't need to type in all caps. And I would hunt through here, look at all these tough businessmen. Wow. So there are all a whole bunch of guys in there. Maybe I should do, Cash is Queen. It's all guys, isn't it? But I would go through here until I found something that I was kind of happy with and get that and download that file. Of course, that the first few images that are showing up are not free. Those are the ones with a little star on it that say sponsored. I'd have to pay for that image. But once I get down in here, I could grab this image and download it and put that on my computer. So now let's say I've got that particular image. The one that I grabbed is a close crop already. It's already on a background. So, but I could get something in here and put that on. I don't want to go to Shutterstock. That's going to cost me money. I don't like to spend money. So anyway, that's how I would get a person. Now, what if I were to have a person and I brought in, I'm going to open an image here. I want to show you something. What if I brought in a picture that had a background? So let me just grab a picture here of, say, this handsome young man right here. We'll get Ben. How's that? There's a great picture. So I would grab this and I'm like, I want to use this guy as my king, but I got to get rid of the background. I don't want the background on there. I can draw, of course, with my pencil tool or with my lasso tool. I could draw a shape around him. I could use my pen tool to draw a very careful path, make a selection, inverse the selection, wipe out the background, all that kind of stuff. But in Photoshop, there's a really nice new trick that they've come up with called Select Subject. Select Subject basically uses artificial intelligence to look at the image, figure out where is there a person in here, and does a clipping mask for you. That's really good. Look how great that is. It got his hair up in there and everything like that. So there's my subject, which means I can just inverse my selection, Shift Command I, and then hit delete, and it will give me a chance I can convert the background to something else. Or if I go to background right here, you notice my background is locked. If I double click that, it opens it up, makes it layer 0, and then says okay. And now if I delete, it just goes to transparent. But really, look at the hair in here. Look how great it's doing in his little hair right there. So really nice job in terms of the way that it uses this. So then I could say select all, copy this, come back here and paste that into my picture, and I could use him for a king. So that's one way to get an image to be clipped out of a background and brought in here as a transparent image. I believe I've already shown you that I've got this guy that I was pretty happy with. So I got him in there and I want to use him as the king. He's a business guy. He's also kind of shot in a comical way. So it gives this a little bit of a whimsical quality. If I wanted to mess with him more, I could hit Command T on this layer, select that layer and say Command T, and Command T gives me this tool here, Edit Free Transform right there. So Free Transform gives you the chance to scale things. If I hold down the Shift key, I can scale it incorrectly and squash it, make him look squasher. As you know, it's backwards from Illustrator. If you don't hold down the Shift key in Illustrator, you proportionally stretch your image. Opposite in Photoshop. Holding down the Shift key actually makes it possible to squash your proportions. But the other thing that's pretty cool is I could say, I'm going to grab, with the Command key down, Control on a PC, I can grab just this corner and stretch him. And so if you find yourself thinking, I want to make him look even more distorted, you've got ways to do that. You could hold down the Command key or the Control key and make him look even more squashy than he already is. So just in case you find yourself working with an image and wanting to mess with it, that's how you would do that. Okay, I'm going to put him on a throne, and that image I'm going to make I could make it here in Photoshop, or I could work in Illustrator and then bring that in to Photoshop. So let me just show you a couple of things. I want to make a throne. Here, I'm going to turn him off. Make a throne kind of like that. It's pretty simple. That's okay. I don't want the throne to be the point. In fact, the throne is pretty much covered up by most of the things. You can see I've painted some shadows on this throne, but I could use the pen tool in here to draw this shape, or I could come back to Illustrator and draw that shape there in Illustrator. I'm actually in the middle of making a scepter, as you see. So what I'm doing is saying, I know that this is going to spin from the left-hand side. I'm going to come over here and make a line here, a line here, a line here. If I turn on Smart Guides, this would tell me that I'm lined up or not. So I could do a couple of things like that, but let me just kind of put a couple of clicks in here. And then I think what I'll do is hold down the Option key, and I'm dragging a handle out of that point. Whoops, dragging a handle out of that point. And then I can get kind of a nice long handle on my scepter here and do that, and then say good. So now what I've got is the shape for my scepter that I can then spin in 3D, revolve, and it's thinking, oh boy, I got a lot of work to do. I don't like the black skin on that, so I'm going to change that. But I can move things around here and just kind of decide where I want that scepter to be. And then maybe I want to put another light source on there. I'm going to hit light source here and put another light source on this down below. So we'll get a couple of things happening in here that are kind of fun. And then as you see, it looks all black and weird. That's because I've got a black outline on it. So it gives you a chance to think about it for a second, and then I can come back here and say, turn off this. Okay, thank you for everything. Come back here, turn off my black line, no arrow, and then come up here and say, I want that to be filled with very fancy gold color like that. Whoa. Cool. So now what I can do is grab that and bring it in. If I want to draw my throne, I would probably just say, here's my line for the throne. I'm just going to go like that, click, 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 make a shape. I think what I'll do is hold down the Option key, Alt on your PC to get a nice long curve right there. The longer the curve, if you can put a curve together with few points, you end up pretty happy with how that's going to work out. So there's that. And now what I want to do is flip this, of course, and make the other side of this throne. I'm going to go to my Reflect tool, lives right there under the Rotate tool, and hold down my Option key, Alt on a PC, click there and say, I do want to flip it on the horizontal or vertical axis rather, but I want to copy. If you find yourself having this happen, where you say, I want to take this thing and flip it, and it goes, whoa, what's wrong? It's because you got point selected and not the whole darn thing. So get that thing put back together again. Let me just undo that. Undo, undo, undo. Okay, don't undo, fine. See if I care. I don't mind. I don't mind drawing some more. I like drawing. I'm gonna do that and then click the whole thing. You see, you've got all the points selected now. reflect me, and go clickety click here and say copy. Then I'm just going to drag across. I'm holding down the command key. You notice I've still got the reflect tool, but when I hold down the command key, it gives me back my selection tool. And I can select those 2 points right there and then go to object path join. And now it's one objet instead of two. And then I could say, well, I actually kind of like that to be filled with something more kingly, more burgundy, like that, kind of something like that. Maybe not too purple, maybe a little bit warmer than that. Yeah, there you go, something like that. So now I've got a 3D scepter and I've got a throne shape that I can play with in Photoshop once I get that going. I'm going to stop sharing here. I'll come back and show you how to do a few more things that we are going to need to do in Project 2. See you soon.